There will also be no physically enforced separation from other people. The separation, quote unquote, will be subtle and very gradually, and we will gradually lose connection with certain aspects of the collective until they are no longer part of our perceived reality. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to a brand new episode of Rooted in the Cosmos. My name is Isabel Gloria. I'm your host, and I'm welcoming you on this beautiful day. I'm happy you're listening. I'm happy you're tuning back in, or you are here for the first time. If that's the case, welcome to the family. Welcome to this little podcast community. I'm really excited about today's topic. I want to talk about the new earth and everything that has to do with it, everything that we can touch on when we think of the new earth. I really hope this episode is inspiring for you and gives you a little bit more of a vision of the new earth that is more tangible for you. I want to start this episode by going a little bit deeper into what the new earth actually is. In case you haven't heard about it, I'm sure you have, but in case you haven't, the new earth is basically a theory that we as a humanity, as a collective, are moving into a higher dimension, are moving into a higher consciousness or a higher state of consciousness. And there is a lot of content around this in the spiritual community, a lot of different theories, a lot of different information about it out there. And lots of it is very fear-based. So there is this theme going around that the new earth is only going to be accessible for a special kind of human, and that you have to work your way up there and you have to work to ascend and raise your vibration and all of that. And while there is some cosmic truth in that and just some energetics that are like the foundation of this theory, I personally feel like there's a lot of fear-mongering going on and a lot of separation, which is basically the opposite of what we want to feel when we are on a spiritual journey and when we have this truth revealed to us that we are all one and that oneness is like something that connects us all. So while there is some truth to that, the earth is kind of splitting into two timelines, is what I have as my information that I got. It's not like we're magically going to be separated from each other overnight. It's not going to be like that. And I just want to preface this that there is a lot of fear mongering around this topic and a lot of misinformation that makes us feel shitty about ourselves, that makes us worry about our family members, about our friends, and just generally makes us feel like we have to separate from people that we love if they are not spiritually awakened, which couldn't be further from the truth. That being said, I want to dive deeper into the different aspects of the new earth and also talk about some misconceptions which I don't believe to be true and what the true meaning behind that could be. A general fact is that no one of us knows how exactly the new earth is going to come into play. We don't know the exact details. We all just have this shared wisdom and this shared feeling that it's gonna happen. And I think that alone is very, very important to notice because so many light workers and so many people who had a spiritual awakening share this vision of a new world, of a better world, of a better reality, of a reality that is more based on love than on separation and consumerism and like all these things that are problematic in our society. So even though we don't know what exactly is going to happen and how exactly it is going to happen, there is a lot of good information out there from trusted channels or from like the most trusted channel you can ever access is your own. So whatever I'm sharing today is what I have gathered on information for myself about the new earth. But I always share this with a kind of take it or leave it mentality because I don't want to be the person to tell you what is the truth and what isn't. I'm obviously sharing my truth. I'm not shying away from doing that. I'm sharing all the insight that I got and that I have around the New Earth topic. And I hope to provide you with something that you benefit from and that's valuable to you. But in the end, you are your own most powerful source. So if you feel something doesn't align for you or doesn't feel in resonance with your truth, that is completely okay. And it doesn't mean that I have the only truth. This is just the information that I have gotten. I have my own filters, I have my own distortions. So none of that is 100% guaranteed to be right or to be the truth. But I genuinely feel like I can share whatever I know about the new earth in a very confident way because I feel like this is legit. So, this is a little disclaimer, always trust yourself. This is my job as a spiritual leadership mentor to not just tell you what is right and what is wrong and what is the truth and what is a misconception, but to empower you to actually believe in your own downloads, believe in your own intuition, believe in your own channelings, whatever it is, whatever wants to come through and however it's coming through for you. My job is to empower you to believe it and to keep exploring your own wisdom from within. From what I've learned about the new earth is that it will not be an immediate utopian society free of all challenges or conflicts and all of that. That's like a misconception that's going around, that it's going to be like this one day or this one shift where everything is better and everything changes. I feel that a lot of growth and transformation and purging is going to be necessary for us to step onto this higher timeline. And it's an ongoing process that also requires an individual effort. So you have to be open to work on yourself and to explore yourself more deeply. And also, the collective kind of has to go through certain challenges, certain initiations that are happening on a collective level. So rather than an overnight perfect world, the planet is moving through a purge, a cleansing process, and it's bringing the shadows and the chaos to the surface to be cleared and transformed. So what that looks like is that we actually see a lot of trouble coming up, a lot of like shadows and darkness coming up and being seen. And from my perspective, this darkness hasn't become more over the years or like in these times. It's just more noticeable because we are more aware and it cannot hide as much anymore. So whatever comes up in our society, on the globe, every conflict, every war, every horrible news headline, all of that is just more in our perception because we need to have our focus on it, but at the same time cleanse it and not claim it for ourselves, if that makes sense. I totally understand that we can speak from a very privileged position if we're not personally affected by anything going on in the world right now. But if we are not personally affected, I see it as our task to hold the frequency high and to actually not get sucked into the darkness and into the negativity that is present on Earth right now. There is so much to do. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be a process that is fast or sudden or immediate. I feel like it's going to be a process of many years of purging and of people becoming more aware of certain things and people changing things on a smaller scale to then inspire people to change things on a grander scale. Like it's gonna seep in into every aspect of society, like this new earth vision and this new earth mentality. It's gonna seep in and it's going to take some time. We need to give humanity time to shift from a fear-based thinking to a love-based thinking. And that's a huge task because everything we've ever learned is based on fear. If you think of it, just think about something really simple, the school system. There is always this fear and dread involved of not being good enough, of not passing a test. Like everything is based on how good are you, how well are you at learning this specific task that you may not be talented for, or how good are you in comparison to the other person that has completely different strengths than you. So everything that you learn and how you perceive yourself and how we perceive the world, how we perceive moving into the world, into the workforce, everything is based on fear. And my example was just the school system. Think of everything else. Like everything is based on a very separating feeling, on a very separating foundation. And to move into a love-based thinking and love-based feeling is not going to happen overnight. People need to awaken to their interconnectedness, and that leads to a more compassionate and mindful world and more mindful choices by the individuals. But before that can happen, every individual has to go through the entire process of having this awakening first, which also, again, comes with a lot of purging and shadows and clearing out negative beliefs and all this. Like, there's a lot of stirring and a lot of darkness that needs to be cleared out, even on the individual level. And that's what's going to happen, or what's already in full bloom in our society. That is actually why the coaching industry is booming so much. It's not just because we are meant to be connected on a more emotional level, like that's part of it, because many light workers feel called to become coaches, and it's all like divine timing. But it's also that people are actually seeking help, they are seeking support, and they want to start taking care of themselves. And that is, you can say, this is the first sign of this elevated consciousness. And that's been really, really strongly coming through in the last couple of years. So that is a great thing. Another huge misconception that I 100% want to talk about, because I feel like it's very dangerous, is that there is this belief system in some people that the new earth will be brought about solely by external forces without individual or collective participation. So, what that could look like is some type of extraterrestrial help or some type of alien invasion or anything external, like the second coming of Christ, whatever you want to name it. There is this ideology of something saving us or a savior that is needed to bring in the new earth. And I think that's really dangerous. I'm not like completely ruling out the possibility of some benevolent beings helping us or some major cosmic event happening. I'm not ruling that out completely. I'm just saying, be very discerning and very aware of the fact that whenever you see an outside source as like a savior, you are putting your own energy, your powerful energy, into the external world. You are not in your power the moment you are waiting to be saved. This dynamic of waiting for a savior, waiting for a special day, waiting for the second coming, like this dynamic can actually be a trap that is meant to keep us from ascending into a higher realm, into a higher consciousness. So just be really aware of that. I don't want to spread any fear. I just want to make you aware of being discerning around everything that is like external savior vibes, because it most likely isn't going to happen like this. We as individuals, we as humanity have to actively engage in this shift, and we have to realize that we need to discern and also rule out these possible traps that make us feel stuck and make us feel like we need a savior. Because if you need a savior, it also implies that you're a victim or that you are stuck or that you are helpless. And we are not. We are actually ascending right now. And even though not everybody is on this path already, there is so much happening in the world. Like, so much is shifting. And there's also a lot of darkness coming to the surface, which makes us not see the actual positive shift. It's really, really tricky, because you may listen to me right now and think, well, there is so much going on, like wars, bad news every day, pandemics, like all this shit is going on. And you're telling me that there's a new earth rising and that there's higher consciousness arising in the collective? Yes, it is. It is. It's just hard to see. It is so hard to see because as we are building the new, the old is falling apart. And it's not a smooth process. It's not one thing breaks down and the other one rises. It's all happening simultaneously. So it's hard to see through the layers of deception and darkness and cleansing. It's hard to see through that and actually realize that there is so much shifting in our society and in our world. What you can do to help with this shift that's happening and to take your part in it is to recognize your role as a powerful co-creator. You are a co-creator of our reality, and the conscious leaders, people like you, are stepping forward to guide from their hearts. And many, many of them are feeling called right now to take a step back from the workforce and channel their wisdom and co-creative power into their soul businesses, to be less dependent on the system. That's a thing that's happening a lot right now, and that's what I see in my work. A lot of women are coming to me and say, I've always kind of had this feeling, I've always had this calling, but I never saw myself as a businesswoman. But now I feel like this is the next step of reclaiming my power and doing my part in this world. I don't know exactly how it's going to work out, what I'm going to do, but I need to take this step now. That's something I'm being confronted with all the time in my work. And it's so powerful to see. And I'm privileged to have this perspective because I see it firsthand how many people are awakening. And it's a lot of women. Like there's a lot of female energy that is being reclaimed. That so many powerful women or powerful people in general are feeling called to step forward now is not a coincidence. It's the time. It's like a certain cosmic event that's going to happen or that's already happening. And although it sounds like an utopian dream, the emergence of this new earth is not just a theoretical concept or an ideology that someone came up with. On a spiritual level, Gaia, so the consciousness of our planet, Gaia herself is transcending out of her role as the karmic depth planet and ascends to a higher timeline. So she's no longer ready to be the karmic depth planet. She doesn't want to sacrifice herself anymore to be a planet that has a lot of karmic issues being played out, because that's what Earth essentially is. It's a planet of karma being played out. It's a planet of polarity, of darkness being present. And that's not the case for every place in this universe. Like there are so many channelings and so many people who are in connection with other beings, and it's definitely not the case for every planet or for every realm that there is so much polarity and so much darkness and so much karma and stuff. So Earth is a harsh planet. Earth is a hard school. Every soul who's coming here has some level of spiritual mission. That's like the whole purpose of planet Earth, to give us a playground, to give us a place to see polarity play out in real life and in reality. So Gaia is no longer accepting that role for herself, and she's ascending to a higher timeline because she already has access to this higher consciousness. She just sacrifices herself to be on this lower realm for us to play out our karmic dynamics and stuff. And those ready to take the leap with her will align with this new timeline and experience life through the collective lens of a higher consciousness. And this is what I've mentioned in the beginning. There is a lot of fear-mongering around this, those who will align with the higher timeline stuff. It doesn't mean that it's going to be like a rapture or a harvest or anything like that. I used to believe in that concept, but it never felt right. And the more I learned about ascension and how it really works on an energetic level and on a spiritual level, the more I realized that this whole fear-based concept around ascension is just there to lower our vibration and to actually keep us from ascending because we're scared of it. And if you are scared of something, if you are subconsciously scared to lose your family because you know they are not working on themselves, that you know they haven't had a spiritual awakening, they are not doing the emotional work, whatever it is, if you are subconsciously scared of losing them, if you work too much on yourself, you're not going to go all in with your self-work, with your emotional work, with your self-concept, whatever it is that you need to do to ascend to a higher state of mind or a higher consciousness. So this fear-mongering around this concept is actually here to keep us small, and you should not feed into that. I understand if there's fear around this. I understand if there is this concept that you've heard somewhere that only a couple of people will ascend with the new earth and the other ones will be left behind and be doomed on a negative timeline, like all this shit. There is like a certain truth to it because it is energetic alignment, it is frequency. But the thing is, the people around you are on a similar frequency than you are, even though they are not spiritually awakened, even though they are not doing the emotional work, it doesn't mean that they do not match up with your reality, because they are in your reality right now as it is, and they will also be in your reality as you grow and evolve. The relationship may change, or you may not meet certain friends as much anymore, and there will be some natural separation happening, but it doesn't mean that they are literally being lifted off the planet, or you are being lifted off the planet and they are left behind. That's just fear-mongering. Do not feed into these concepts. The new earth does not refer to a physical place in that sense, and we should not expect any sudden miraculous transformations of the landscape or anything like that. There will also be no physically enforced separation from other people. The separation, quote unquote, will be subtle and very gradually, and we will gradually lose connection with certain aspects of the collective until they are no longer part of our perceived reality. So you can imagine, or you can think of a country that lives a very different life than you live it. So think of a country that has a lot of poverty, a completely different culture, stuff like that. It's not like this place is not here. We are living on the same planet, but these people who live in poverty are on a very different timeline than we are in the Western world. It doesn't mean that we could not go there and meet them, but it means that we usually do not meet them in our daily lives. It just doesn't happen naturally. And this is how you can imagine this timeline split. You're just not going to engage naturally with certain aspects of society. And those people who are quote unquote left behind, they still have to learn certain things. They are not at the place where they want to move into a more love-based reality. They're going to stay with the old reality as it is. And those who are ready to create new communities and create new things and become leaders of this new earth, they are going to get creative, and new things will form, new ways of living will form, new communities will be created. And there is so much going into it. We can just fantasize about how it's going to look like in the physical. But I'm bringing this up because I really want to take away that fear that you may have around this timeline split. It's not going to be like you are going to physically being forced to separate from your family or separate from friends that have a different worldview or something like that. The people close to us are vibrationally similar and experience these subtle changes with us. And it can happen that some people that are now in your life and you are going to naturally grow apart, but it's not going to be a painful, sudden separation that you don't want. It's if there is some separation from some people, it's going to be natural. It's just going to evolve that way because your interests are not the same anymore, because your values do not match anymore. And it's not going to be the people closest to you, the people most important to you, because those are so close and so important to you because you have a lot of vibrationally similar traits and you match a lot of your frequency. So they are going to experience everything that happens with you. It's not going to be a separation there. The last thing I want to bring up about the new earth, there is so much more to talk, but this podcast is not going to go anywhere soon, so we can talk about this more often, definitely. Give me your feedback if you liked this talk and if you like talking about the new earth. I want to share one more thing, and this is like a little deep dive into a spiritual concept that I want to share with you. I sometimes do that with my clients, like it's kind of my thing to do deep dives into large spiritual concepts, into things that are very, you could say, complicated. But once you understand them, you have a lot of value and a lot of benefit from them because it gives you such a deep spiritual understanding. And I can give you one of these deep dives with ascension and with ascending in general. So if you imagine dimensions as layers, and you imagine the first dimension as the first layer, the second dimension as the second layer, third dimension as the third layer, and so on, like a cake that has many layers. The layer above another layer always has all these lower layers below it. So if we ascend to the fifth dimension, it does not mean that we suddenly switch from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. It means that we open our perception up to see and to perceive the fifth dimension, because we are opening that door to that next layer on the cake, and we are now seeing that part of the cake as well. It doesn't mean that we lose any of the lower layers, because there's also this theory out there that we are going to lose our physical bodies. The information that I have around this is that we are not going to lose our physical bodies. Nothing is going to change in the physical. Everything is going to be the same. The difference is that we can access the fifth dimension, so that a lot of people have a sense of oneness, have a sense of interconnectedness, that our empathy will be heightened, and that we will be way more intuitive, that we can begin to use telepathy to communicate, that we can read each other's emotions, and in a very aligned way, not to spy on each other, but to understand each other. And like, we are just opening ourselves up for this fifth dimension and for this fifth dimensional perception and the gifts and skills that come with it. Nothing on the lower layers, on the fourth, third, second, or first dimension is going to change because of that. We are just extending our perception, and we are getting more of what we can perceive in our reality, because right now we are not perceiving a lot. We are only perceiving a very, very small amount of the wavelengths and of the frequencies that are actually around us. So once we ascend to the fifth dimension, we can perceive more. It doesn't mean that we lose our physical bodies or that we go to another place. It just means we are opening ourselves up to see more of what there really is. And I'm not saying there is not a possibility to maybe have a light body that can function without your physical body, but then this is going to be a choice. You can choose to do that. Similar to astral projection, you have an astral body, you already have that, and some people want to learn to access this and to consciously decide whether they want to be in their astral body or not. Usually, we only go into our astral body if we dream, and if we are in dream time. That is when we use that body. It's actually the body you perceive yourself in when you are in a dream. And you have that body and you may not be super aware of it. And similar to that, we can get a light body that is like the fifth dimensional version of the astral body. And I cannot predict how this is going to play out. I don't have any certain information about this, but where I'm really certain is that we will not lose anything. We will just gain a new perspective, and we will gain new possibilities. And then there's the question, what is humanity going to do with that? How are we going to live our lives? How are we going to grow our food? How are we going to work? How are we going to have a community around us? Like, what is that going to look like? And what I see in a lot of awakened people who are aware of this shift happening is that we all kind of share a vision of growing our own food, of being connected with each other, of living a little bit off grid, but still using technology in a very aligned way. And this is also where the possibility of other species connecting us comes in. I briefly talked about extraterrestrials a little bit earlier when I talked about discernment around an external savior and like being saved by ETs, like stuff like that. But in the context of having access to the fifth dimension, it only makes sense that we then also perceive other beings or other parts of our own cosmic self, because on another dimension, we are the aliens. They are not actually outside of us. They are just more advanced versions of humanity. So if we start evolving into a more higher dimensional state, it only makes sense that we get in touch with those beings and that they maybe even exchange information with us, give us technology, give us whatever they have achieved on their timeline, and just support us in a very benevolent way. But that would only happen if we allow it to, if we are ready for that. And that is why I'm so cautious around these alien invasion theories and all that. the real benevolent beings, the way I perceive them and the way I've gotten to know them, is that they would never interfere if we are not asking for it and if we are not ready for it. Because the least thing they want is to scare us or to create like a mass panic or anything like that. And the only two cases where this would be valid that I know of are, first, anything that has to do with nuclear stuff. So if humanity would do something really stupid and be on the brink of using nuclear weapons or something like that, this would be a permission slip for them to interfere. And the second one is if anyone would ever do a fake alien invasion on a grand scale, this would also be a reason for them to interfere, because there are some cosmic contracts. Don't quote me on this. This is the information I got, and I've also heard from other people that I trust. But this is like a whole different topic. But just to make it clear for you, you do not need to fear the new Earth. If we are fearful of a better reality because we believe in some concepts that are fear-mongering, that are full of scarcity, we are hindering ourselves from ascending to that better reality, to that beautiful connected reality, and from creating this community on Earth that is really heart-based and love-based. So don't ever fear stepping up, or don't ever fear your own evolution. I think this is a beautiful way to end it here. I hope you enjoyed this talk. It was a little bit different today. I really wanted to dive into some more spiritual stuff. I want to talk about this more. I know I share a lot around leadership and stepping into your power and starting your business and fulfilling your divine mission and all that stuff. And it's all connected. Like, there's no clear separation between the purely spiritual topics and the business aspects, because it's all intertwined. If you're a spiritual leader, if you feel called to step into your power in whatever way, all of this is relevant. All of this is part of becoming that leader that you are meant to be. So I hope you also enjoy episodes like this. I love recording them. I love talking about these cosmic concepts. If you have any suggestions for new episodes, send them in. You can send me an email to podcast@isabelgloria.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram. It's @isabelgloria. It's all linked in the show notes. And I want to use this last minute to let you know that we are starting the Cosmic Wonders Mentorship tomorrow. Tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Sunday, it's starting tomorrow. I would be open to take on one more woman. It feels really aligned for me. I know it's spontaneous, but if you're feeling called to make a spontaneous, big decision for yourself and step into your power and let me help you build your business, definitely reach out. We can bring you on very spontaneously, and you can start with me and with the group tomorrow. I would be really excited for this to happen. I just had the intuitive feeling to send it out into the universe and see what happens. So if you feel like I'm talking to you right now, please reach out to me. We can bring you on. You can start with us in the group tomorrow, and I want to help you build your dream business. That being said, I'm wishing you a wonderful week. We will talk next week on Sunday.